2 days ago, I went to the roof of the Fox building to cut a greeting for the 9/12 project. I stood there on that roof. I didn't prepare anything to say. I just knew that was the visual, that is where I wanted to be, because you could see the Statue of Liberty and you could see where the empty space is, where the World Trade Center used to be. And still, there is nothing. And just next to that space is the glorious Empire State Building. It's beginning to be dark when I get in the morning. I'm usually here 6:45 to 7 o'clock every morning. And I sit in my office and the sun kisses in one window the eagle gargoyles of the Chrysler Building, shimmying in the sunlight, stainless steel. And as the sun starts to peek through the buildings past the Chrysler Building, it then touches the face of just the stainless steel bands of the Empire State Building, and it goes all the way from the base of it all the way to the top. And so every morning, at a certain time of the year, and it's beginning to get closer and closer again, the Empire State Building, which is framed in one of my floor-to-ceiling windows in my office, is just aglow. And many mornings in the last year since I moved into these offices, I have sat there and I have wondered, where are we headed? That building sits on the space that used to be the Waldorf. At the time, one of the most famous hotels in the entire world, the Waldorf. But they knocked it down, cleared the space. In just over 400 days, Americans knocked down the Waldorf Hotel and rebuilt the icon of America in just over 400 days with less technology, with men who threw hot steel and hot rivets at each other. We changed the face of a small island that we bought for beads forever. And yet the space of the World Trade Center sits empty. Why? Are we less the people than our grandparents were? Do we have less ability? Do we have less drive? Do we have less imagination? Do you know what they used to call the Empire State Building? For years, it was known as this. They used to call it the Empty State Building. I don't think I'm mistaken. I have to look this up, but I don't believe the Empire State Building has ever had 100% occupancy. For years during the Great Depression, it was a symbol of hope. Many tried to tear it down and say it is the real message of America. It's empty. But the owners of the Empire State Building, then mocked by the media as the empty state building, turned on the lights so it looked like there were people inside. They built it anyway. They built it as an icon. They built it for the future. They built it for the wonderment of man in America. We keep hearing that nobody wants to buy into the new World Trade Center, the Freedom Tower. In fact, it's no longer called the Freedom Tower. It's going to be World Trade. In fact, let me add the other offensive word, one world trade. One world trade. That's fantastic. Why have the Freedom Tower when we can have one world trade? That's fantastic. Why did we change it? Well, because of occupancy. We needed to get some occupancy. The Freedom Tower might be a little offensive. It might make it a little more of a target. The Freedom Center. And Chinese investors also were a little ruffled at the idea of freedom. I contend that today we need to remember not just 9/11, but remember who we are. Are we mice or are we men? Are we Europeans or are we Americans? Are we one-worlders or are we free men? Are we the people that will sit around and look at and see this scar on this island and accept it because of political correctness, because of special interests, because of labor unions, because of big corporations, because of big government? Is that who we are? Who's stopping us? I contend that the day that rubble was cleared, that the only thing was stopping us were special interests, political correctness, and politicians. Because if it was up to me, I believe it was up to you. We would have built it. We would have built it at twice the speed. We would have built it 25 stories taller, and we would have built it with our own damn hands if we had to. Send a message to the world. We are America. Anything you destroy will only make us stronger. We will only make it better. We will only make it bigger. Not to gloat, but because we can. Where is our American spirit? Where is our ingenuity? It's still alive. Listen. You can hear it. It's no longer calling for help. It's digging itself out from beneath the rubble and the wreckage. It has laid dormant for a while. It laid confused and dazed. But it's about to come out of the smoke, dust itself off, and declare itself free again.